The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has some great bosses. Today, I'll be giving you my top 5 favorites. Welcome to day 6 of Zelda Week. I'm uploading 2 vids a day, every day, until Age of Calamity comes out. It's a lot of work, so I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video, and if you're feeling especially nice today, subscribe. It's not even that hard. You don't even have to watch any other videos, and you can always unsub. And also, here's a spoiler warning. If you haven't beaten the game, just wait a bit until you watch this video. But with that, let's head on into the list. Breath of the Wild does so many things right. Its atmosphere is amazing, its puzzles are challenging, and its world is huge. These are all things I think about when I think of Breath of the Wild. One thing I don't think of when thinking about the game is its bosses, though. The bosses in Breath of the Wild can be a bit bland compared to other Zelda games. Just hit the boss enough until it dies. Well, I'll tell you which 5 I think are the best within this game and what order they are. From this point onward, I will be telling you every boss in the game, including the final boss, so get out of here if you haven't beat the game yet. Alright, you're gone. The main bosses you need to fight to beat the game are the Blights, Master Koga, and the 2 forms of Ganon, which I am counting separate. The 5 mini-bosses are the Hinoxes, Taluses, Moldugas, all of which have a health bar above them when you fight, and the 2 others that don't have a health bar are Guardians and Lionels, and I just thought I'd include them, because they act like bosses. So, what's my top 5? Well, find out now. Although the game doesn't treat them as a boss, I'd say Lionels are very hard to take down. Gold Lionels are the strongest enemy in the game. I'd say even harder than Ganon. This is why they're coming in my number 5 spot. Lionels have a really cool design, and the first time you fight one, you will probably die. If you don't prepare for a Lionel, it will be much harder your first time. These guys are so much fun to take down, especially at the higher levels. I don't believe I've ever personally defeated a Gold Lionel, as I usually only play in normal mode, but I plan to in the future. I honestly don't have much to say on these guys, except the fights are basically you proving your strength against the strongest and toughest enemy in the game. Out of the 7 main bosses, Master Koga is definitely the odd one out. I mean, every other required boss is just a form of Ganon. He's also the easiest in the game by far. You don't need to have that good of weapons to beat him. But the reason why I like Master Koga so much, and why he's at my number 4 spot, is because his boss is basically like a puzzle. You have to use magnesis to hit spike balls at him, and then you can actually hit him. The fight isn't that hard, especially on repeat playthroughs, but when you first figure out what to do on your first playthrough, you might have fun figuring out exactly what to do. Also, he's just a funny antagonist, and his voice in Age of Calamity looks amazing. Like Master Koga, Moldugas stick out a bit when talking about overworld bosses, especially comparing them to Hinoxes and Taluses, as to get their medals, you need to defeat every single one of them in the game. There are like 40 Hinoxes and 30 Taluses, and then like 4 Moldugas. 5 if you count the DLC one, but it's still only 5. But they are my number 3 favorite, because, like Master Koga, they're sort of a puzzle to defeat. You're in the Gerudo Desert, when all of a sudden you see something underground. You can't quite see it, but there's something there. It starts heading towards you, so you get on top of a platform. You throw a bomb at it to distract it, and it jumps out and eats the bomb. That's when you see how big the behemoth truly is. From there, you explode the bomb and start dealing damage. Repeat until dead. That's kind of cool, right? It's like the dragon in the one episode of Mandalorian. When I watched that episode, I couldn't stop thinking about Moldugas. The entire story it tells is just so scary and thrilling, and I love it. It's funny how the easiest boss in the game is directly followed by the hardest Blight in the game. Thunderblight Ganon is infamously the hardest Blight to take down, and rightfully so. Fun story, on my first playthrough, I actually did Thunderblight second, an enormous mistake. I didn't even have the Master Sword yet, so it took me about 20 attempts to successfully beat him. And when I did, I was so happy. The boss is super fast, and actually managed to kill Urbosa 100 years ago. That's pretty crazy, but you really need to know how to flurry rush for this boss, or else it's much, much harder. This boss actually helped me perfect flurry rushing, and also, by defeating it, you get Urbosa's Fury, and 1/8 of Ganon's final health gone. And, speaking of Ganon. Now, don't confuse this with Dark Beast Ganon. I'm only really talking about the first phase of the Ganon fight. I really like Calamity Ganon for the atmosphere. You walk in and see a cocoon on the ceiling, which then proceeds to hatch into Ganon, and you see the big spider that he is. You then proceed to paraglide down and fight him, underneath Hyrule Castle. If you've done any of the Divine Beasts, then you will get this really cool cutscene of the champion, or champions, absolutely just obliterating Ganon with the Divine Beasts. The fight itself is great too, having to parry Ganon's beams, which helps a lot if you have Daruk's protection. I also love how weird and unsettling the boss looks. He's riddled with malice, and his back legs are actually guardian legs, implying that over the past 100 years, he's been slowly fusing with other things. All in all, Calamity Ganon is a great final boss. He's just the right level of difficulty, and his creepiness is so on point. Finally being able to defeat him after being told about him since the beginning of the game is just so satisfying. Well, that's my list. This is my second top 5 video I've done and my third ranking video. So if you like the style of what you just watched, then you can check out other ones, link in description. I put a lot of effort into my videos, this week's especially, so again, please at least consider subscribing. Do you have a list of top 5 bosses and want to share it? The comment section has your name on it. And with that, I hope each and every one of you has a good sleep.